Greetings, everyone. This is your community update video for May, and this covers next month as well. So lots going on, lots to announce, but I'm just going to do it short and sweet, quick and dirty, some combination thereof. Uh, First, just an appreciation. What a wonderful, thriving community we have, and there's always interesting discussions going on the Tantrika online learning portal, on the Facebook group, multiple Facebook groups actually at this point, and the main one being Tantric Yoga Now, of course. Um, and we are still planning, this is very important, we are still planning ultimately to migrate everyone into one place, meaning to shut. We will at some point, might not be for months yet, but we will at some point shut down the Facebook group. We will at some point, be off other platforms, especially social media platforms, and let the community grow by word of mouth, right? Because ultimately, for moral and ethical reasons, primarily, we don't want to be involved in social media platforms, and the danger they pose to modern society, right? So I'm confident that the community is big enough now that it can grow by word of mouth, and the publication of additional forthcoming books, of course, 3 more books forthcoming, and then more after that down the line. So that's just a warning. It's not happening yet, but eventually we will shut down the Facebook group. But before that, we'll migrate all the content over to our learning portal, and eventually content will probably disappear off YouTube and other places, because we want to consolidate everything in one place, one platform. Now, one consideration here involves the kind of functionality of that platform. As you might know, we've built Tantrika Online from scratch ourselves, and when you build something from scratch, it's doesn't always function exactly the way that you thought it would or want it to, but in many ways we are proud of what we've built. But we do want to invite feedback from you guys, because what we're considering now is a radical restructuring of our learning platform. So, it's been a learning experience, because we never did this before. We never built a learning platform before of our own. We're considering a radical restructuring, and so we need to hear from you. What has worked great? What has not worked great? What's functional? What's not so functional? From those of you who are on the platform and are no longer on the platform, as well as those of you who are currently on the platform. And so that would be wonderful if you share that feedback with us. Not that you all need to. We couldn't handle that much feedback, but a kind of sample would be nice as we look at now a kind of sometime soon, a radical restructuring of some kind. Anyway, that's one thing. But the even more important for the immediate future is the fact that we have upcoming some wonderful new stuff, right? So we have online retreats. We have 2 online retreats coming up in the next 60 days. We have Vijnana Bhairava Tantra online retreat. Then we have the Recognitions Sutras online retreat. So each of these online retreats, which will be about 5 days long, that you can do in the comfort of your own home, each of these will be focused on a different ancient scripture of the tantric tradition, that I've translated in hopefully an accessible manner, and will go deep into the teachings and practices of the VBT, especially the last third of the text in the VBT retreat, which comes up in just 3 weeks now. And then we'll go deep into the practices, especially of the Recognition Sutras, in that retreat, which will follow 30 days after, another 5-day online retreat. And thankfully, we were able to, sell those retreats in person. They're happening here in person at Tantrika Institute, Portugal. And we said, if the retreats sell out or nearly sell out, then we'll offer them online. And I hope you understand, if we undermine the in-person retreat if we say if we promise to offer it online as well before we know. So it's all working out great. And I think it'll continue to be true for future retreats, at least some of them, that they're going to sell out in person, and certainly post-pandemic, they're going to sell out very easily. But even in this era, they're doing well. So we'll be able to offer the online versions of these retreats as well. So you'll be hearing more about that coming up. And then we have a new Satsang Series coming up. That's hugely important for those of you who enjoyed our previous Satsang Series, like Near Enemies to the Truth, 8 Keys to Liberation. This is another one in that same vein, and this one's called 7 Simple Steps to Walk the Spiritual Path. And it's actually a teaching I came up with quite some time ago and have refined over the years. So if to contrast it with the previous series, they actually don't overlap that much, because 7 Simple Steps is about what you do on the spiritual path. It's more about the what. And 8 Keys to Liberation was more about the how you do what you do. Right? So if you think about the teachings of the 8 keys, largely it's about how you do what you do. And the upcoming series, 7 Simple Steps to Walk the Spiritual Path, is about what we do, actually what advances our progress on the spiritual path. And the interesting thing about 7 Simple Steps is that it's actually applicable to any version of the spiritual path, not just Tantric Yoga. So I would say almost everything that'll be taught in 7 Simple Steps could be beneficially applied to any spiritual path. A Sufi person, somebody following Christian mysticism or Zen Buddhism or any path could benefit from these particular teachings. And I hope you'll agree, and I imagine at least many of you will. So this is a series that you can actually invite your friends to who aren't even interested in Tantric Yoga, because this one is not Tantric Yoga specific. It's just about what is effective and what's not effective on the spiritual path in terms of the actual actions we perform. So that'll be interesting. So 7 Simple Steps is a satsang series, so it applies to the Tantrika level as a live event in terms of the levels on our website. Tantrika level as a live event, but Samayan level is included for recordings. Do you see what I mean? So if you're signed up at the Samayan level, you're not, you don't get access to the live event, but you do get access to the recordings. And if you want to be live, then Tantrika is the level you want. Okay, so we are also, by the way, going to be setting up a scholarship fund. Now, as of yet, Tantrika Institute, it barely breaks even financially, so we are not in a position to offer scholarships, and that's been sort of heartbreaking for me and many of us, because we don't want money to be the reason that people can't access these teachings. So hopefully eventually, there'll be a margin for that. But for now, our shorter term solution anyway, is to set up a scholarship fund that people who have a bit more can donate to, and then we'll use those funds to offer scholarships to people who have a bit less or who live in developing nations like Brazil that have a terrible exchange rate vis-a-vis the dollar. Okay, so ultimately, please know it is absolutely our goal that no genuine seeker will be turned away for lack of funds. But in order to make that possible, you need resources, and we don't yet have those resources. So we're starting with, again, establishing the scholarship fund. If you're someone who has a bit extra, please donate to it once it's launched soon, and then soon meaning in the next couple months here, right? And then we'll have some funds to offer for those who need them. So that's the current plan. We want to address all the needs and desires of this community because it is a generous community. Like, all of you give to each other your time, your love, your attention. You support each other so beautifully. You support the mission of disseminating these teachings so beautifully. And when, of course, I say these teachings, I don't mean Harish's teachings, right? Because I'm a torchbearer for tradition. Many people enjoy the way I share the teachings, but they're not my teachings, okay? They're the traditional teachings of non-dual Shaiva Tantra. And I really do want to stress, something I've said before, that to get the maximum effectiveness out of your spiritual practice, it really helps if you spend a few years in one lineage. In one lineage. You can doubt me, or you can take my word for it, or you can test it for yourself, but I guarantee you that all those who have woken up to their true nature with the help of a tradition would agree that it was absolutely crucial to spend a few years anyway completely focused within one lineage. And when I say that, I mean one lineage, not one teacher. So for here we're talking about Tantrika lineage, right? That's the home base for the teachings of non-dual Shaiva Tantra that not only I offer, but a bunch of other people offer as well. And so there are quite a few teachers of the Trika out there, in various countries and parts of the world. So you can find out more about who those folks are by looking up Trika teachers in the Facebook group. So I'm not advocating for only listen to what I have to say. No, it's about the value of staying in one coherent system before you then seek to supplement it in various ways. If the system is coherent and effective and complete enough, it just saves you the trouble of accidentally incorporating. If you're doing the bricolage thing, if you're tinkering and putting together things from different traditions into your practice, you might inadvertently incorporate teachings that subtly contradict each other, or practices that subtly contradict each other, and then cancel each other out. And so that's part of the alignment of view, practice, and fruit, which is so necessary for the spiritual path to work. So just a little bit of encouragement on that point. And let's see, have I covered everything? Yep, I think I have. I managed to cover everything in less than 14 minutes. So that's cool. Any questions? Somebody says, I'm very interested in the actual practices and doing them over their history. Great. So 7 simple steps to walk the spiritual path will be a great series for all of you interested in that. And it will be focused again on the principles of spiritual practice in general, not just tantric yoga in particular. So absolutely, please do invite your friends who are on any spiritual path at all. Cool. Okay. And that's it for now. Wonderful. Thank you for your kind attention, and please do continue enjoying your practice, your learning process. Thank you to all of you who are part of the community and who are especially part of Tantrika Online. And thank you for helping us build this together, right? It's a very interesting phase to be in. We're really a kind of spiritual startup in a sense. We're building this together, and there'll be some later phase in which it's built. The curriculum is built and it exists, right? So it's fun that you guys get to be in on the ground floor, as it were. Oh, and one more thing I did forget. Later this month, yes, later this month, I will start filming a series with Deepak Chopra called Tantra Illuminated. I don't know when it will be published exactly, but we're planning to start filming later this month. So that may result in an influx of new students, and we're going to try to be careful about that and have some way of managing that. But I hope that all you guys help welcome and support new folks who are really interested in classical Tantra, because part of the point of doing a series with Deepak that reaches a wider audience is that, of course, as you know, a lot of people think Tantra has to do with superlative oriental sex or something like that, right? And so when people learn about classical Tantra, some people get very excited and interested. And so this is my hope for that series, that it provides a major corrective to the widespread lack of understanding in the popular culture about classical Tantra, either that classical Tantra even exists or what it is, right? Because so far, the only sentence that people have heard about classical Tantra is, Tantra is just not all about sex, you know. So we want to go a little bit deeper than that. So my goal is to have that conversation go as deep as possible and not be superficial in any way. So that's an exciting potentiality. Any other questions? There are some more questions, but they would take more time to address than I have right now. Cool. Okay, so once again, the Deepak series of conversation with Deepak is called Tantra Illuminated. That's for anyone who wants to learn what classical Tantra is, presumes no knowledge, whereas the 7 Simple Steps to Walk the Spiritual Path is for anyone on a committed spiritual path, talking about the nuts and bolts of what makes spiritual practice work and what we actually do on the path. Everyone clear on that? Great. Yeah, so that's it for today. We have a 1-week break in the Saturday Satsang Series, so this is it for today, and I get to have an evening off for once. Love you all so much. Thank you for being part of this community once again. Feeling a lot of gratitude for all of you and just the fact that this community exists. And thank you for being part of the revival of classical Shakta Shaiva Tantra in the 21st century. It's a beautiful thing. Om.